all of a sudden I look over and start rolling her window down. I said, Preston, see what he wants. She about jumped through the window on my side. What are we doing?
10 and 2 over there.
Tired.
Relax a little, Jordan.
I'm tired. Yeah, there's no need for the light. But actually, I did break my hand. Okay.
Taylor's already in bed.
Yep. And it's not even 10.
No, it's, oh, you got 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's not even 5.
Yeah. We really need to have a jam session. Find a good song.
We really should find out what's going on this bridge.
You want me to stop and let you get out? Yeah. You want to go wander up there and ask him?
No.
My uncle just commented one of my senior pictures on my post. I forgot I had that.
We gotta get that on. Oh, wow. Does that have the fish hook on it?
Probably.
That's good. She's made it to 10.
Yep, I'm awake.
Somehow I've ended up with the computer. Taylor's still awake. She's made it. Whoa, whoa!
Sorry.
Taylor,
10:07.
look at that. She's still in her cocoon.
I love this thing.
Lucas,
Yeah.
how did I end up with this computer?
That's smart.
I guess I'm doing school now.
Preston. Because that's what you use for the Enduro. Good.
We got our hotel. Yeah. Let's get it cracking here, Jordan.
Get a what?
Jordan's all about the glasses. He did.
Oh, did you show him the glasses?
Yeah.
Can we see him on you?
Yeah, I don't care. Give me. Oh, geez, that is freaking big. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's in that building over there. Thank you.
Was he an employee?
So do we go
He was
around? He was the janitor. Did he say go around?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're in the rear building. We're through there. We're in there.
Ah.
So we park outside where we're in there.
Do we get valet?
Back up to one of those trees.
I'm backing up to one of them trees
This-
right
oh
there.
my. Wow.
Hunter did this at some. Yeah. We're recording. Action. We're gonna do our recap of how the National Enduro at the Cajun Classic went for both of us today. Mine was not very eventful, so we'll start with Preston.
So this was my first ever National Enduro, and it was one to remember. Started off really fun. I like how you kind of get a warm up, and then going into test one, I wasn't told when the tests end.
I forgot.
So I just kept going. There was a road crossing that I literally jumped across past the two people that were standing there waiting for me with their hands up, and just kept going with it all the way until test 2, and then quickly realized I was a little early. So I turned around, went back to the pit, you know, found my people and got some water.
There's a big E at the end, which I don't know what the E stands for, so if you know the answer, please comment on this video.
It definitely means end.
But why not use E and D?
I don't know. Yeah, so that's why
Anyway,
I kept going, and I raced for 7 miles, not 6, the first test. And then test 2 was fun, had one little crash, and then by the end of test 2 I was 20 seconds off of 3rd, and then going into test 3, first couple of miles I was feeling really good. It honestly felt like it was going to be my best test, and then I get about 4 or 5 miles in to the 3rd section, not the entire race. There will be a story behind that. I come to this little gully. You just go straight down and then straight up, but when you're, you know, in the down part, there is a little creek that you cross. And Taylor was 26, James and Huck, some of our friends, were 27, and then I was 28. And so I get down, and I look down in the hole, and I see James down in there. And I was like, oh, that's weird, because normally he's a lot faster, and I would never see him. But his bike is stuck down in there, and I'm like, that's weird. So there must be something bad. So I kind of do a little glance down the hill, and I'm like, oh, there's a little rut. A nice-looking rut. And I'm like, all right, I'll take this rut. I take the rut, and my back end, like, just kind of slides into it, and I'm now stuck in this rut. So I kind of like get resituated. James comes over, tries to help me get up this hill, and it's just not going. And I'm like, that's really weird. Like, this shouldn't be that bad the way it looked. And then we quickly realized that my chain was off. And prior to this, I was stuck, and I looked over. I said, James, what's wrong? And he goes, oh, my chain's off. And I'm like, okay, I'll tell someone. And then about 2 seconds later, he goes, no, you're not going anywhere. Your chain's off now, too. So I'm, you know, now we're to the point where we're like, okay, I'm stuck, you know, pretty much like this, back fender's up in the air kind of thing, and I have no chain. So step one, get the bike out. Well, that took us an hour. And we ended up there were so many people flipping over the bars down into this gully and landing on my bike and hurting themselves, and then causing a massive bottleneck that we had to reroute a little bit of it. And, you know, we helped people get through it. But we were there for an hour and a half total. We ended up finally getting my bike unstuck after getting on our hands and knees and shoveling the mud out of my back tire, and then having to get a stick and get the mud out of my tailpipe because that was filled from being stuck. So we get the bike out. We have to carry it out because there's no chain, it won't roll. We flip it upside down, and it got pretty lodged from the case, and kind of like where the frame sits right there in that kind of like where the front sprocket is. It got kind of like backed up in there. Somehow I got mine out, just moving it a little bit. And then, James he threw everything at it. He almost threw a tree at it. At that point. So he gave it his all, and all of a sudden, he slides it, we're rolling it back on. Well, it was so jam-packed with mud that when we were rolling the tire, we're like pushing on the tire. And if you know dirt bikes, that's not normal. So I then have this great idea of scooping my hands in the creek that we're standing in and throwing it on my chain to try to loosen it up a little bit. I was probably splashing James more than anything, but it worked a little bit. And then I finally, get my bike up out of it. And at this point, we are in the 95s, I bet, in the rows, and we started on 27 and 28. So we've been there for a minute. And then we had two very nice men that stopped and helped us. One guy stayed there longer than I did. I ended up, I made sure James had two people. He had a pack of tools, and one of the track official guys that worked for NEPG showed up, radioed. So I felt comfortable leaving at that point. And I stayed there I stayed 10 minutes after we got my bike going, and we couldn't get it. We tried taking 3 main parts off the bike to get the chain back on, and nothing was working for him. So I ended up going, but I didn't make it very far. I made it about 2 corners after, going on the track, and I had to hit a tree to slow down because my grips and my gloves were so wet and muddy that I couldn't grab anything. So I smashed a tree. No big deal. I get to the next creek crossing, which apparently wasn't very far. That's a complete mud hole. I stop, I wash my hands off in the creek, I rinse them out, and then you know, about a mile, I was kind of, you know, like, oh, like I'm just gonna kind of call it a day. Like, I'm an hour and a half behind at this point. And then I kind of was feeling good again, got back into my flow, and then I was like, well, I've already paid to be here. We've already driven the miles to be here. I might as well just have fun and just enjoy the day. And that's what I did. I gassed, luckily, right before the third test, and I had enough gas to get through. I didn't have a Camelback. I didn't have food or anything, and I didn't stop until I got to the very end. And sorry to anybody through the transfers that I knocked over, because I was hauling through the transfers just trying to make up time, and I ended up making up to row somewhere in the 70s by the end of the test 5. So I had a fun day for the first NEPG. It was a memorable time, but yeah, that's my day.
So, Preston is faster than me, and I knew when about she would catch me, kind of thing. I had an idea. She never did. And test 3 was the longest test of the day. It was 10 miles. So, by all means, she should have caught me in there at some point. She never did. So, whenever I got done, I found the people pitting her, and I'm like, hey, have you seen Preston? Because I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss her. I don't know how I would do that, but you never know. Anyway, they said, no, haven't seen her. And then those people were also pitting James, and they asked about James. I'm like, well, I know where James is because I came up on him immediately after he threw his chain. And that was an experience we'll save for another day. And so I told them about James, and then so I'm cruising back and forth trying to find my pit people, and I couldn't find them. So I just started stopping people that I knew would have came up on Preston because I wanted to make sure, one, she was okay, and two, the bike wasn't broke. And so it was determined that she was most likely stuck. And I knew exactly where she would be because there was one spot that I thought would be a potential. And I was correct. She was right next to James, where I last saw him. So I then went found her pit again and told them that's exactly where both of them are at. And so I did my part, I thought, but I couldn't help.
Something I'll never forget, and something I wish I had a GoPro of because it was funny. Now looking back, it was it was hard, you know, when you're sitting there and you're just watching everyone go by you, and you know, so that's racing now, and I'm glad I get to race again this weekend. Nothing's broke on me, and you know, I'll have to watch where I go next time on holes.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah. The funny part, it's not really funny, but the last time I raced Louisiana, it was about the same conditions. It was dry, and I managed to get myself stuck in a corner that had a little bit of water in it. And so, like, that scarred me for life. Like, so all weekend I kept telling them, don't go towards the water.
And she did. She told us about every hour of the trip, make sure you don't find any water. And I'm like, okay, yeah, of course. Like, it's going to be dusty. There's not going to be any water. I'll be fine.
It's Louisiana.
Yeah.
It's a swamp. So
it's a hole.
Yeah. Now she's learned and she's experienced. And next time we go back, maybe we'll both remember.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So what did you end up, Taylor?
I ended up 5th. I felt pretty good on the bike. I didn't wreck. I didn't have anything crazy happen. I couldn't find my pit people for a majority of the day, so I begged somebody for a cookie because my blood sugar got really low, and that's not good. And ran out of water eventually. And then after the race, this long distance runner could tell my blood sugar levels were extremely low, so I got some water, pineapple, trail mix, and some kind of granola bar that had a lot of chocolate in it too. So she set me up, and that was her first race ever being at. She's learning about dirt bikes. Her boyfriend brought her, and she likes to travel, and I think it's cool. So shout out to her from Indiana if she happens to see this. Thank you. Appreciate it. And other than that, like, it was a good weekend. We all carpooled. We usually don't do that, so it was a nice change up. I experienced eating, was it crawfish? Crawfish and crab for the first time. Not a fan of crab. Crawfish wasn't bad, but I don't like the effort that you have to go through to eat it. You gotta like break it and whatever. But you'll see that in the video.
Okay. Yep. Now go.
All right. There you go.
You guys.
Punch it. Like.
It's just spicy. That's all it is.
So yeah, it was just a good weekend, and the trails were sick. Like, this is the most fun enduro I've done in a while. I had a blast. The layout was good. I usually, for whatever reason, I have a lot of cuss words flowing out of my mouth, hitting a lot of trees, wrecking a lot, and it just, like, none of that happened. And I just had fun. Sherko was great. Handled everything great. I'm happy. So, ready to do it again.
It was definitely showing up at an NEPG. It was the most calm I've ever been showing up to a national event.
Yeah.
Really fun. Everything seemed very laid back, but you know, you also know you gotta go. God, warming up though, that was nice. Just getting kind of a fresh mile and getting the blood pumping and kind of filling out the trails, and that was really fun. So I'm excited to do more of them this year.
Yep. Should be fun. Stay tuned for the GNCC this upcoming weekend. Our race report, we're going to do a little bit better job at the race. I think we're all a little hangry. I forgot to pack a fair amount of food, and we went a fair amount of time without eating, so we kind of failed. But at the GNCC, we're going to have the cameras out and rolling, and so if you see us around, you might be in the video. Be prepared.
With a pair of sunglasses.
Yeah, so